Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax. We hope you enjoy this sermon from a recent Sunday worship service.
Everything that you are looking at, or that you are sitting on, or reading, or singing, or eating if you're at home, started with an idea in someone's head. Whether it was the wheel, the horse-drawn carriage, the Model T, or the Saturn rocket to the moon, someone somewhere, whether in a classroom, a research lab, or in the shower, I said the shower, had to have some inkling that led to something else that led to something that looks like this. Right? Now, because it's Mother's Day, let me tell you about an idea that led to choices based on deep values that impacted a nation. Julia Ward Howe apparently couldn't take it anymore about a variety of different issues that were happening in society, and she decided that she had an idea to do something. Julia Ward Howe lived from May 27, 1819 to October 17, 1910, and is probably best known for being the author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She was also, however, an abolitionist who worked to end slavery, an organizer for women's rights, and a tireless worker on behalf of international peace. And as the story goes, she was also a Unitarian. The story says that mourning the death of her father in 1839, and soon afterwards that of two more deaths of people close to her, she turned to the religion of her upbringing, though her reading had already exposed her to more liberal ideas. Later she wrote, "I studied my way out of all the mental agonies of Calvinism that it can engender and became a Unitarian." In her efforts to advance the rights of women, she had a weekly publication in 1870 named Women's Journal, a widely read suffragist magazine. And that year she addressed the problem of peace when she wrote her appeal to womanhood throughout the world, later known as the Mother's Day Proclamation. It asked women from the world to join for world peace. In 1872, she asked that Mother's Day be celebrated on the 2nd of June. Her efforts were not successful at the time, but she certainly did have a long-lasting legacy as they impacted Anne Jarvis and her efforts, which eventually led to the modern-day version of Mother's Day. There are so many possible motivations for ideas: to extend power or authority, for the advancement of science, to make more money, to try and increase pleasure and joy, to find ways to save the planet, or for the betterment of humanity. Just a few of the possibly unknown number of reasons that led to ideas that have led to so many things. We humans are idea factories, and I often know, as far-fetched as this may sound, we may think that our ideas are better than anyone else's. Did you want to raise your hand about that? Whether in politics or religion or business or even in church life, there are times when we think that our idea is probably better than any others, and maybe even the very best possible idea. Shocking. So what do we know about that, and what do we do about that when we have competing ideas? Something that seems to be at the heart of most of the world's differences. What does it mean for both having an idea and then trying to sort through multiple ideas in community in order to do what we hope is best, not just for some, but as much as possible for as many as possible? After all, as Unitarian Universalists, we are kind of predisposed to try and do what's best for as many as possible, while being conscious of the impact and need for all, not just the majority. There's a little book on my bookshelf in my office. It just sits there like most of my books. And I passed by it this week actually looking for a different book. And I thought, this is the book for today. And the book is called Choices, Using Values to Make Good Choices Every Day, and it's by Jeffrey A. Zink, PhD. And one of my very favorite passages from this book is when he asks, what kind of a person do you want to be? What kind of an organization do you want to be? And then he says, it's really about your future, the future you create every day and the small choices that you make. Who are you, if not the aggregate of the choices that you make? Who are you, if not the aggregate of the choices you have made to this point in your life? Knowing who you are and who you want to be, you look at the values underlying the options, and you simply pick the value that represents who you are at your best. The values laid out before you may range from greed and revenge. I will not make a comment about that. And me first, to justice and fairness and honesty and service. All you have to do is pick. Pick the one that you want to live by. We can get so lost in our ideas through various frameworks, through ego, through history, through experiences. So perhaps one of the very best reasons to be part of this faith community is to be reminded what it means for us to be called to our best selves. How often do we make decisions about our personal preferences without considering the needs of the whole? Frankly, how often do we come to church on the days where we understand that the service may not meet our personal needs, but may deeply impact the person sitting next to us and the needs they have on that day? Calling us to our best selves, using our deeply held values to support the choices we make, is a huge part about being in this religious community. And it's incredibly sad to me when religious communities teach that only the values that matter are theirs. And it seems so often lately that religious teachings are based on the me and not on the we. I don't believe that UU values are the only values that matter. What I do believe, however, is that the values underlying progressive faith traditions do often seem to be based on calling us to our best selves with the minimizing of the me and the lifting up of the we. In the last paragraph of Julia Ward Howe's Mother's Day proclamation, it says, "In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a General Congress of Women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, and the great and general interest of peace." This was from 1872. Our ideas can have power beyond our wildest dreams. The choices that we make can have ramifications we could never possibly imagine. If we can ground our ideas and our choices in our best selves, with a firm foundation in our UU values, our values of interdependence, of pluralism, of justice, of transformation, of generosity, and of equity, with love at the center, then I truly believe we are doing our best to practice this faith tradition that brings us all here today. Which brings me to one more thing. The words of Julia Ward Howe, dreamed up a number of years ago, called me from history this week. They called to me because I was thinking about another idea dreamed up by some imperfect idealist about 250 years ago. I was struggling to find the words, but the other night I found some, and this is what I wrote. What is this dream? This flawed, maddening, hopeful dream? A dream that through all of the imperfections, generations have been working, trying to make a more perfect union. A dream of liberty, equality, and siblinghood, radical in its nature and yet still threatening in its practice. A dream that has spread into the souls of humans, constantly battling for the better angels of our nature to break through. My friends, this is not a dream, or is this not a dream worth fighting to save? As imperfect as it may be, maybe it is because it has not yet done being what it might or can be. And now again, we are being asked to help save it and move it forward. Maybe we thought in this 21st century, how could this be tested again? After so many trials, so many steps back, then forward. But yes, again, we are at a crossroads, and it is a job of our generation to hand it to the next, to make sure something of this dream can be. Too much has been sacrificed for too long for us to give up now. Find a way. Find your way. We will find our way together. History is calling, and we must answer this call. Ideas based in deep and loving values, calling on our best selves to make our choices, and all we have to do is pick. Pick the ones that we want to live by. Let us do that, and let's have those choices be our proclamation. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this sermon from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax. To listen to more sermon podcasts, go to uucf.org/sermons and scroll down to sermon podcasts.